You can't talk about Stargates in a historical context without talking about the Greeks. The Greeks are descendants of Javan. Javan was a son of Japhet, and Japhet was a son of Noah. The Javanites are the present Greeks, or let me say it differently. The Javanites became the Greeks and Macedonians, the people from Crete, the Italians, and some of the Celtic tribes that were named Tarshish that migrated to the British Isles. So the Italians, the Celts from the UK, the present UK, the Macedonians and Greeks, and the peoples from Crete. Those are the descendants of Javan. Now I want to focus upon the Greeks, because the Greeks were, they were famous, the ancient Greeks were famous for worshipping spirits. For calling upon demons and, chanting, clairvoyance. The Greeks were quite good at it. The Greeks, they lived in what we today call Greece. In ancient times it was called Achaia. But the Greeks often would migrate to another area and build a settlement. Well, more people did the same. But what the Greeks used to do was, when a family or a cluster of families would, for example, depart from Achaia, present-day Greece, and they would go to, the northwest of the Black Sea, they would settle near the sea. They would build a few houses, build a settlement, but there would always be a few magicians and a few witch doctors, included in the group. And when the Greeks built their settlements, they would always build stargates in those settlements. They would build altars. The devil or Satan was called Zeus by the ancient Greeks, and you had other names for other evil spirits. Anyway, the ancient Greeks loved to worship evil spirits. Now, not all ancient Greek people did this, don't get me wrong, but the majority did. And a lot of wizards and magicians came forth from the ancient Greeks. Today we call them philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, and those other guys. They were into magic. They were possessed by thousands of fallen angels. They were at communications with Nephilim. Okay? And several stargates, because remember, a stargate is an area, mostly in a city or within a cluster of villages, in which, people from the occult, had introduced negativity by massacre, and they maintain the negativity by human sacrifices and, imposing violence on society. And because of the negativity in that city or cluster of villages, demonic entities, both Nephilim and the fallen angels, have the ability to manifest themselves openly. That's what a stargate is. Now, a stargate could be somewhere in the woods, apart from society, but often stargates were in cities, mostly the most important cities, or in a cluster of villages. Well, a few, well-known stargates by the ancient Greeks were Rome. Rome was a stargate of the ancient Greeks. Caceira, which today is a city in Portugal named Vila Real de Santo Antonio. Felicitas Julia Olisipo, which is also a Portuguese city, which today is the capital of Portugal, named Lisboa. Portus Caile, by the way, the people from Rome used Latin to rename certain cities. the Greeks named it Kyle, but the Romans named it Portuskyle. And by the way, from that city name you have the word Portugal. Anyway, in Portuskyle, you have many, people from, Ireland, Britain, and Germany in ancient times that travels to Portuskyle to get involved in economic activities with, Asia. Portuskyle was a very important city. Anyway, that was also a Stargate. You go further, the Greeks and Romans also installed several stargates on the British Isles. For example, Londinium, which is the present-day London. Deva, which I'm not certain, but I believe it's Liverpool today. Correct me if I'm wrong. On Ireland, the Greeks and Romans named Ireland Ibernia. They've built 2 stargates by building 2 settlements. The main stargate there was Eblana, which today is called Dublin. So you can go on and on. The ancient Greeks were famous for building stargates all across Europe and also in Asia. And this attitude of, this imperialistic attitude of migrating somewhere, building settlements, and creating stargates, this attitude was taken over by the Romans. By the way, Rome was a Greek stargate. And the same attitude was later adapted by Holland, or we call the Netherlands. And in the next part, I'll talk more about the Netherlands. But remember, in ancient times, the ancient Greeks were famous for building stargates around the world. And that's why, Greek and Roman mythology, because Roman mythology is the same Greek mythology, but it's a little bit changed here and there. Ancient Greco-Roman mythology is the dominant, pagan religion in the world. Why? Because the Greeks were a very fruitful and talented people, but they used their talents to serve the wrong master. They used their talent to serve Satan, and the enemy exploited the ancient Greeks. And you remember, stargates are places where Nephilim and fallen angelic beings can easily and openly manifest themselves. There was also a city in ancient Greek, in Achaia, that was built by sirens. And if you don't know what sirens are, do your research and your homework. Sirens are sea Nephilim. They are very dangerous beings. You had Kykrops, who was a king of a siren people from the sea that arrived at land and built a colony on land. And that colony was Athena, or Athens. And that's where ancient Greek civilization began. With civilization, I mean the political structure of ancient Greece, which is the structure that Western society adapted because of the Roman Empire. And from these ancient Greek political structures, you also have democratia, which today we call democracy. However, democratia doesn't mean the people rules itself. Demos kratos, like in many school books they falsely teach us. Democratia comes from demon, means demon, and gratia means a possession of. So democratia means demonic possession. And so democracy is really a political system in which the people are under demonic influence. But the people think that they are in control. While the truth is that evil spirits are in control of them and they don't know it. That's what democracy is. And that's why many countries during history didn't want any democracy. It's us of today that are deceived and think that democracy is the ideal, the best way of governance for humanity. But enough about this. I'll continue with talking about the Netherlands and how they impacted humanity.